Welcome to episode 149 of Stageworthy. I'm your host, Phil Rickaby. Stageworthy is a podcast about people in Canadian theatre featuring conversations with actors, directors, playwrights, and more. So I've been back from the fringe adventure that I was on out east for, a couple of weeks now. And I have to admit that I'm feeling a little blocked. While I was on tour, I was very much concentrating on the performance aspect, and I did not touch the writing at all. And now that I'm back, and I feel like I should be writing. In fact, there's projects I want to be working on. I'm finding myself struggling with that because as I don't know if I've said it here, but I've said before, writing is a muscle. And the more you use it, the better you get. But if you don't use it, like any muscle, it will weaken and atrophy. So I've actually spent much of this summer, because I was working on presenting the commandment and rehearsing and everything, not writing. And I feel like I am now facing a struggle. In fact, I am facing a struggle to keep writing. Or to at least get started. I keep feeling like that I'm blocked, that there's something that I'm having difficulty with the writing. And I think it's because I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself. I know I am. I'm expecting myself to just be able to write the way that I was before I took a break from it. And that's just not the way that the creative brain works. Have you ever had that? I mean, I'm wondering if you are a writer or a creator and you've taken some time away or forced yourself to take some time away. What are the tricks that you've used to bring yourself back to the way that the practice that you had before? If you feel like telling me or dropping me a line, remember that you can find Stageworthy on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at StageworthyPod. You can find the website at stageworthypodcast.com. If you want to drop me a line, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Phil Rickaby, and my website is philrickaby.com. Let me know what your tricks are. Let's get to the show. My guests this week are Thea Fitz-James and Wes Babcock. Both are performers and creators, and also the curators and hosts of Dark Day Monday, which is a monthly performance series featuring artists who defy expectations and break boundaries. The next Dark Day Monday, as of this recording, is October 8th. Watch the Dark Day Monday website and socials for updates. You'll find those in the show notes. And make sure that you follow them even further than just for the upcoming show, because it's a monthly show. So make sure that you check out their offerings and see what's happening. It's a great monthly way to see new performers trying new things, and also to socialize, which is something we don't get to do very often. So I highly recommend it. So you guys, Thea and Wesley, did I get the right?
Just Wes.
Just Wes? Okay.
Yeah. It's like when people use their middle name on Facebook.
Yeah. Okay, Wes. So you guys are curators of Dark Day Monday?
That's true.
Yeah.
What is Dark Day Monday? Give me the capsule.
Do you want to take this?
Sure. Okay, so basically we are a monthly performance series that tries to curate or offer a stage for things that aren't typically seen on stage.
Okay.
So that can either be something that falls in between disciplines. It's not quite comedy, it's not quite theater, or it's not quite dance, and it's not quite storytelling, it's somewhere kind of in between. Or it can be kind of more politically challenging works, or a lot of kind of emerging writers find us as well. Emerging artists sort of tend to sort of kind of want to make a mess on whatever the stage is that we're doing. Yeah, so that's what we're doing.
I described it to someone today who I met for the first time, who I was like sort of pitching the show to. I was like, do you know that thing that you made that you're like, where am I ever going to do this?
Yeah.
You're going to do it for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is it that inspired you to start putting this together, and how long has it been going on for?
We're going on number 8, so 8 months.
Will be October.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've done every month since March.
Yeah.
And we sort of conceived of the idea on New Year's Eve, we were eating cheese at my apartment, and we just sort of thought to ourselves, you know what this city doesn't really have enough of? A curated cabaret sort of series that features, like, artistically challenging work.
And I think we were really inspired. Like, we met on the fringe circuit.
Yeah.
We're fringe friends, and I think we were really inspired by the sort of like one-night cabarets that happen on the fringe that kind of bring different artists together to do things they would never normally do. And I think we were inspired to sort of bring that kind of show to Toronto.
Yeah. And something else that we sort of notice is missing is, like, a hub for fringe artists to, like, make work and gather together throughout the year, and then also something that's curated but looking at the emerging artists and, like, trying to provide a platform for them to get, like, seen by a broader community throughout the year. So we wanted to do that as well.
Which is great because it's kind of hard to get into the Toronto Fringe. You know, there's that. So what kind of stuff has been on? Can you describe anything that's been on there before?
Well, we've had
favorites.
we've had about 40 artists perform for us so far, so we won't get into all 40 of them, obviously. Some of my favorites are clown bubble poetry.
Oh yeah, that was really good. And we did I think one of our first feature artists, Ingrid Hansen, made puppets out of her clothes. Just like all her clothes became puppets, and we sort of watched her for sort of 15 minutes just make different puppets out of all of her clothes. That was kind of puppetry, but also found object puppetry.
So we've had a few different clowns do some weird things. We've had
political jugglers. We've had drag queens.
I'm a little stuck on the political juggler thing.
It was juggling with hats, with bowler hats, and it was sort of like framed in the sort of York strike that happened earlier this year. It was juggling with sort of like anti-capitalist juggling.
Oh, right then.
Is maybe the best way to describe it.
I think so.
It was great.
And we've had a bunch of, like, really excellent movement pieces, like movement fused with poetry and like songs and just spoken word stuff, and it's like really beautiful things that happen.
Is there a particular length that these things tend to be? Is it?
So we have two different slots that people can apply for, and we sort of switch back and forth between which format we go with. So we always have at least 4 7 to 10 minute spots, and then every other time, it has been so far, that we'd like to have it more frequently, we have a 40-minute feature slot. And so that just gives somebody a little bit more time to, like, really dig into something that they're experimenting on.
Yeah, and that's usually been like readings of longer plays, or like a first time that someone wants to get a piece up on their feet and try it out in front of an audience has been typically where our feature, like, just a little longer to kind of get into the meat of a piece. Those are really rewarding, and obviously we want to do more of them, but it's a lot to ask an artist to sort of like...
It is a lot to ask. Are people coming to you with 40 minutes, or are you going to people saying, like, do you want to do 40 minutes? Or
we've had both, for sure. I think mostly people have come to us and been like, all right, especially before the summer leading up to Fringe, people are like, okay, I've written my show. I just need to try it out before I go into rehearsal. Like, I need to read it out. So we had a lot of Fringe shows and solo shows kind of for our feature spots. But we've definitely reached out to people as well in the early days when we were still trying to get the word out about us. Yeah.
How early on was Ingrid's puppet madness?
Oh, she was on our first.
She was our first feature artist.
Yeah, she was our first feature artist. Yeah, we reached out to Ingrid. Yeah,
she's kind of a mad genius.
Oh my god.
She's a part of the Fringe family. Love her.
Yeah. Because you described those one night cabarets when people get together. Like, didn't the Merkin sisters basically come out of that?
It did.
They've been, like,
it
doing
did.
this massive thing. Yeah.
Ingrid and Stephanie were just like, oh, I'm gonna put this sweater on, and then the sweater becomes a puppet that is my vagina, that is a baby, that is like, and I think that was their very first piece together was the sweater. Vagina one that they did maybe in Montreal Fringe a couple of years ago. I don't know, I can't keep track, but Yeah.
And it became a thing, like a massive thing.
A massive thing.
Yeah.
They sold out Edmonton last year. I don't know
They've
how.
sold out.
They've
sold
just
out
been everywhere.
Yeah,
It's been crazy.
I think they sold out the factory this summer. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been doing really well. It's an amazing show.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Although not for everybody.
No.
Because I don't think some people go in and they don't know what they're getting. There were these two old ladies who they went from a half maybe 15 minutes. This is stupid. This is just stupid. To like by the end they were like yes. Like, don't quite know where the change happened, but it definitely happened.
So what you're saying is it is for everybody.
I think that people think it's not for them at the beginning, and then it becomes for them.
Exactly.
That's right. So I amend my earlier statement. It's actually for everyone. What is your... one of the things I like to find out is like, why did you choose theater, or why did theater choose you? What's your theater origin story?
Do you want to go first?
Sure. I went to university to study English literature because I wanted to be a poet. And during my first year, I took a theater elective because I loved theater in high school. And I was like, I'm going to take a theater elective just for fun. And then I went out to the bar with the people I was working with on this like project that we were building, and met the whole like theater student executive, and it was like, oh, these people are way more fun than all the people in the English department. I should study theater. And so I did. I took theater as a minor, and that's how I like studied theater. And then I took like quite a while off, like pursuing the poetry thing, and I returned to making theater like 3 years ago now. And I do like all kinds of different things. So I'm a writer, I'm a producer, I'm a designer, and a technician. So I basically try to get as dirty as possible in the world of theater.
Before you went to university, you said you did some theater in high school, but do you remember what your earliest theater experience was, whether it was in the audience or participating?
I think my earliest the earliest thing that I remember of theater is like my childhood best friend was one of the orphans in a production of Oliver, and I was incredibly jealous. And I was like, I want to be in this thing. And so since then, I've like just gotten more and more into it because it's like just something about it grabbed me.
Yeah.
I was an orphan in the production of Oliver.
So jealous.
But I was like too old to be like one of the cute orphans, so I was like, like the like older orphan. I was like, I was a teenager, so I was cast both in the adult chorus and the child chorus. It was a thing. Yeah. I did theater like all through growing up, and also went to university planning to do art history, and theater just like I just found overnight, like or after a year of trying to do art history courses, found I was taking way more theater courses and just had already basically done my degree. So, and I keep like drifting away from theater and then going back. I'm now finishing up my PhD in theater. Like it's just all I think when I was dating, I was, people would be like, okay, so like you write about theater and you write shows and you perform shows. Like, what do you do for fun? And I'm like, oh no, this is it.
This
like,
is fun.
I see plays, I guess, when I'm not writing about them. Like,
isn't this fun?
Yeah,
it's
this
kind
is
of one of those
fun.
things that people who aren't in theater don't quite get.
Yeah. They're like, what else do you do? It's like nothing.
There's other things that I should be doing. Yeah.
This is all I do.
But you've done solo shows and some fringe stuff for a while.
Yeah. I've been fringing for a couple of years. I'm still kind of green when you like, you realize like you're like, oh, I didn't know how to fringe, and then you realize how the more you get into it, how little you know.
Yeah.
But I've been fringing for like 4 years now, and I have 2 solo shows that I've been touring. And so I think part of like why we wanted to do this as well is like we are both practitioners who like we're hoping, and we've like never performed our own stuff on the stage, but I think like wanting to have a space, like if we ever wanted to workshop one of our shows, to like to share that with with someone. We've never had to because we have enough applications coming in.
We prefer not to.
Yeah, we prefer
know,
sure,
because like it's not really for us.
Yeah.
But
but eventually, we'll probably one of us will be like, "Can I feature on the next one?"
Yeah. So I mean, I'm also a performer. I think I skipped that part in my like list of things that I do. Maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I toured the Fringe last summer, and then I wrote a show with Nancy Kenny.
Okay.
And
What show was that?
It was called Your Princess is in Another Castle.
Okay.
And it's now called Princess Free World Democracy Live.
Okay.
And we are developing it into a 70-minute immersive, like, video projection monstrosity.
Okay.
Beautiful
Because
thing.
I've heard of Your Princess is Another Castle, but I hadn't heard of the new title. So
That's because it's a secret.
Oh my god!
The news has broken now.
Flash! News flash! Yeah. It's interesting what you were saying about, you think you know how to fringe, and then the more you fringe,
Yeah.
the less you realize you know. And I think if you fringe locally,
Yeah.
you can kind of master your local fringe. But as soon as you go to a different place, every fringe is so different that
Yeah.
you can almost never master all of the fringes.
Yeah, I think a few have tried, and I think like John Bennett would be one of the people that I would name as a fringe master, or like Gillian English, or
Yeah.
obviously Jem Rolls. Do I even need to say his name?
I was thinking Jem Rolls. I was like,
with
the
us.
first Jem Rolls
Yeah.
is in that list of people.
Yeah. And like Martin Docherty and all those beautiful people. But it's interesting because I think like I'm a big advocate for like leaving your home fringe. I think the thing I hate about Toronto fringe is how cliquey it is, and
Yes.
how everyone comes out for the Toronto fringe, but then we don't come out as much during the year, you know, and then when you do the Toronto fringe, people are shocked to find out that like Toronto fringe isn't the biggest fringe in Canada, and I'm just like the arrogance.
Like
of that.
it's absolutely the arrogance.
I love
but
Toronto,
I've had that conversation
Yeah.
with people. People are like, oh yeah, Edmonton, Winnipeg, those are the biggest fringes. They're like, fuck off. What?
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
like, no, actually.
Or like they'll be like, this year we have 150 shows, and when you've done like the big fringes
Yeah.
that have like thousands of shows, you're kind of
Yeah.
like, oh, that's so
that's
cute.
so cute. Yeah.
Like 150,
Yeah.
good for you. Not to be mean to Toronto, obviously. I
No,
live
but
here, I love it. But
you know what? I think, to be honest with you, like when we did the fringe roundup during Toronto, where I get a
Right.
bunch of people together and we have a conversation, and during the last one, so we did two on the last Saturday, we were brutally honest about fringe and some of the things that needs to change.
Yeah.
And they haven't reached out, but you know. But I mean, I think it's a conversation that you have, and you're hard on your local fringe because you want it to be good,
Yeah.
and you kind of demand that it needs
Yeah.
to be good. And when it's not, when you see a problem, you should speak out.
yeah.
Well,
yeah.
the only way things like can improve is if we can first identify the areas where it can be improved.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You know, if we pretend that everything is perfect, like everything will only get worse.
No, absolutely. And you know, there are people who are like, no, I don't actually want to talk about how bad fringe is. I'm like, it's a lottery. What do you think? They're not going to let you in?
Yeah. Well,
Well, I mean,
I have opinions on the Toronto fringe and the lottery, but
Well, I
I'll
mean,
keep them to myself. But,
you don't have to.
I'm
You
good
don't
friends
have
with
to.
a lot of people on the exec too, but I mean,
Okay.
you know, well, we won't get into it.
Okay,
but,
okay.
But later
yeah,
on another
sure.
podcast. I'm
Sure,
so
yeah.
happy to talk about it over beers.
But I mean, when you guys are like you're sort of like trying to build like a community that exists outside of that fringe community. It sounds like.
Absolutely. I think one of the most important parts for me is the like atmosphere and like community feel of the space and the show. Like just the energy in the room is so important to me, and it's always been really, really excellent.
Yeah, like welcoming, very warm. I think it is a space where you can try anything. Yeah.
We prioritize featuring queer performers and artists of color, and we like really make it abundantly clear that it's a space where discrimination is not cool.
Yeah.
So
We make fun of ourselves a lot. I don't know. I find it's like, I think my favorite moment of all the shows we've done is a moment where I almost got booed off my own stage. Because it was the theme of the show was lies and deceit. And so me and Wes told a bunch of like lies to each other, like that, or lies that we typically tell, and like explained why we tell them. And one of the lies that I tell a lot is I loved your show. Like after.
Yeah.
And the audience vibe like was so against me, but it was so funny. Like we were all like it was like beautiful how they were against me. They're like, be honest, like just be honest if you don't like someone's show. I'm like, you can't be honest in this town. Like, and it was this like beautiful energy of like of me kind of digging my heels and people being like, boo. It was so much fun.
it was a very loving boo.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was a very loving
Yeah.
group.
Yeah.
It's interesting because, you know, you can't say to somebody that they didn't like, you didn't like after the show, you can't be like, I didn't like that.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple weeks when the show's
Yeah.
closed, but Not during. You can't really.
No, you can't. I think there's a way. I'm very honest with my friends when I don't like their shows, but I think there's a way to do it. See, and then they'd all be booing. And then they're all like, yeah, right.
I tend to opt for silence if I don't like the show.
People were telling me that night to say thank you for your work, to say that, which just I think is a cop out.
It is a cop out. It's not. I hear you, but they must have turned on you pretty quickly.
It was very.
Was that the hardest truth that you guys told? Was that the one that got the most reaction? Or?
That was the one that got the most reaction in terms of like how relatable it was and how funny it was. Like it's like a white lie that in our community is very relatable. The lie that was the worst was probably one of yours. No.
Oh, probably.
Like, yeah. Oh, yeah. Wes once, can I say? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Go ahead.
Wes once told someone he loved them when he didn't love them. So one of his lies was, "I love you too," and I was like, "Oh, that sucks."
I mean, who hasn't done that?
But everyone's done that. It's true. It's true.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
What do you guys? Is there something in particular that you guys like? What would you like to see this become in the long run? Like it's been 8 months.
Yeah.
If you do this for 2 years, what would you like to see it be?
Oh man.
Well, we have big plans in the coming down the pipeline. So we are having might be some big announcements soon for us.
Okay.
So we'll just like leave that as a little teaser.
Yeah.
I think we're also talking about as we continue to grow and as our community grows to become a producing body. So to actually produce full length shows under our name and under our banner. And I think we definitely want to keep being, I mean, there's a world in which we start doing it weekly and then we kill each other. No?
That sounds lovely. And terrifying at the same time. I really love the monthly model.
Yeah, me too.
In 2 years, it would be like stupendous if we had 80 people who showed up every month.
Yeah.
And like enough submissions that we could be like, oh, I'm not really into that one. I really am into these 5.
Yeah.
Let's do that. And just more engagement, more of the same is all I can say.
Right.
We're just trying to take what we have right now and just sort of grow it or really organically and slowly and taking care to make sure that the community that we develop feeds back into itself.
Yeah, we're paying our artists. We offer feedback if it's invited. Obviously not if it's not invited. But we really do. We are playing the long game in terms of building a community and building a name for ourselves and building ourselves as a platform for people to come and try new stuff.
Yeah.
We've never called ourselves a new works platform, but people are coming to us being like, "Oh, it's a show for new works, right?" And we're like, "Yeah, I mean, it's a show for old works as well, but come try your new stuff." And so I think that's been really nice to feel like people have already identified us as a place where they can kind of cut their teeth on an idea. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're really looking to embrace that because some of the most exciting stuff that we've had on our stage has been really new and really raw and really exciting.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
How do people apply?
Oh, well, you just go to darkdaymonday.com/apply.
Yeah.
All right.
Or on our Facebook page.
Yeah, there's a little Google form. It's not that complicated, but also it's pretty important that you fill it out with some thoughtfulness.
Yeah.
But
I think it takes probably about 15 minutes to fill out.
Yeah.
With your bio, your pitch, sort of what you want to do. We've definitely have not taken people because they've just sort of phoned it in. And we've been like, wow, well, if you're going to phone in this form, what says that you won't phone in your performance, you know? And we've also curated people we don't know and have never met based on the quality of their applications.
Most of the people that we've put on the stage, we've never seen.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's based purely on the thing that they send us.
Yeah, which is
that's kind of exciting. Yeah.
It's very exciting.
When you guys at this, is it just performance? Is there socializing? Is there what happens in the course of the night?
Yeah, so there's the doors open half an hour before, people socialize, there's an intermission that's usually sort of brief, and then we often hang out afterwards a bit as well.
Yeah.
And we're looking to expand on the afterward hangout to really sort of make it into more of a lingering community space sort of thing.
Because we do have very few of those outside of whatever passes for a fringe club each year. there aren't a whole lot of times when the theater community, for want of a better word, comes together and has the opportunity to come together, which I think is to be able to expand that would be really great.
Yeah. Well, so for example, our next show, we're trying out a new venue for our October show. So I announced it as a surprise in September, and I thought we would reveal the surprise today.
Oh,
okay.
Which is that we're going to be at the Array Space, which is like a music performance venue, sort of down by Strawn and between Queen and King.
Okay. Just across from Trinity Bellwoods, no?
Yeah, just near Trinity Bellwoods. And so we have access to that space for a little more time than we normally have access to our performance space, and so we're going to hang out for a while afterwards.
Nice.
We're going to be giving away beers, just giving them away.
Wow.
Yeah, just
true.
giving beer,
Wow,
free beer.
free beer.
There will be free beer at our event. So yeah, we are trying to sort of look at, we've been at Burdock and we love Burdock. It's an incredible space, the music hall there. But we're just sort of like seeing what we are outside of that space. And then in the new year we might have some other announcements.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Just to talk a little bit more about your creative lives outside of Dark Day Monday. Now, Thea, I know that you've performed some solo shows. You have 2 solo shows that you've taken to Fringes. Wes, when you're writing, do you write solo? Do you write, like, what kind of things are you drawn to in terms of your writing?
So Nancy and I are still developing Princess Free World Democracy Live. So that's a duo show with voiceovers, poetry, projections, all sorts of multimedia experience. And I'm also writing a more poetic solo show that's going to feature movement-based text interpretation and projection design.
Oh, wow, okay.
So, sort of bringing in the poetic background that I developed my craft as a writer for quite a while, not doing my school assignments, and then subsequently, and writing a solo show as well.
Do you find that you're particularly interested in adding multimedia to what you're doing? Because these are 2 things that you've described to me that involve some media, like video and things like that.
Yeah, well, the job that makes me money is that I'm a theater technician.
Right.
And a lighting designer and a set designer. So integrating the technical elements of stagecraft into my creative process, I think is it's how I create.
Yeah.
So I'm not actually a projection designer, but I can imagine a really cool thing happening with projections, and the imagining of it helps me create the text of it. And then when I'm going to contract a projection designer to reinterpret the text that came from my imaginings of their projection design.
Right.
So
Cool.
we'll see
I have
what happens.
a real fascination with the idea of live projection mapping and things like that. This kind of stuff that you can do to transform a space just with with the technology that we have now that can really change things. So,
yeah. Not the PowerPoint presentation sort of
No.
projections, but the oh my god, it's all changing.
Yeah,
We're under
yeah.
where are we? What's happening?
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's beautiful.
Yeah. Which just sounds really fascinating and awesome. Have you managed to play with that much before, or just kind of new for you?
This will be a new venture.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I always like tackling something brand new like that. I don't know how this is going to work, but let's find out if it does.
I have this instinct that this is the right thing for this project.
Yeah, nice. Thea, your 2 solo shows. First off, what are they What were they based on? Where did they come from?
Yeah. So I have the 2 shows that I've written. One's called Naked Ladies. The other one is called Drunk Girl. And they are both very much inspired. One of them is literally me on stage. Naked Ladies is literally me on stage, naked, telling the history of naked ladies in performance. So it's a lecture. It is not a burlesque show. It is not like a sex show, but it is a lecture that I tell naked while analyzing the sort of history of objectification of a female body. I talk about porn. I talk about body shaming. I talk about performance art. All those terrifying, wonderful things. Sexual assault, yada yada yada. Sexual assault. Okay, sorry, that's not a funny joke. But yeah, very so it's a serious show. It's done very well. It's and so that's just me, and I talk about my life and talk about silly stories of being naked as a kid, but then more serious stories around sexual assault. Yeah. My second show is more inspired by my life. So Drunk Girl is about the drunk girl, the character of the drunk girl, and how she is how can we reclaim her to be a sort of radical feminist? Can we take this image of the drunk girl that we see walking down King Street, sort of clip-clopping in January and short shorts, and we're like, who would do that? Can I actually find out who she is? Can I bring her to life? Can I make us fall in love with her? Can I have her rip our hearts out and eat it, and then we still kind of love her at the end of the day? I'm sort of I was a drunk girl, and I'm fascinated with the demonizing of that character, and so I wrote a play around her, around that period of my life, around my mom's alcoholism, around why women drink, and kind of brought it into the show about women and drinking and sexual assault. Because it always makes my shows are often about sexual assault. Okay. Yeah, it's important. Yeah.
And what fringes have you guys traveled to before with your shows?
Well, I've been to Tampa Fringe and Orlando Fringe in Florida. And then I've also been to Halifax, Ottawa, London, Winnipeg, Vancouver.
I've done... Okay. East to west. I've never done Halifax. I really want to do it because I have family there. But I've done Montreal, Ottawa. I've never done Toronto, but I've reviewed and hung out a whole lot. Winnipeg, Edmonton, Vancouver, Perth, Australia, which is called the World Fringe, Adelaide, Australia, and I think that's it. I got into the Wellington ones, but I skipped it. I didn't go. Got into New Zealand, but I didn't go to New Zealand. Yeah. So
what did you find? Is there? I mean, as we said, everything is different. Are there particular differences that you've noticed aside from Toronto's thing with itself?
Yeah.
Outside of Toronto and traveling, even outside of Canada, are there particular things that you've noticed that are differences?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the fringes. I think the Canadian model is so beautiful because it is a lottery, right? Oh, I've also done Singapore Fringe, but that's a whole other story. That just made me think of it because it's a lottery here in Canada, but it's not outside. They're what are called open access festivals, so the Edinburgh Fringe and the Australian Fringes and most other fringes, and even a lot of the fringes in the States are open access, so anyone with a venue can put on a show. But what ends up happening is the venues kind of have a monopoly on what shows run. And so everyone's trying to get into the sort of hubs, and they take a huge amount of the artist sales. And it's really even just this past year in Perth, Australia, one of the major hubs of the Australian of that fringe went under, and literally to this day, artists who were performing in Perth have not been paid. So they did their show for a month and never got paid and are out. Some artists say they're out $70,000. We're talking big money. So it's really interesting that model, the financial model, is completely different, and I think it makes it a very different fringe because you're hustling. I have never hustled like I've hustled in Adelaide. It makes Edmonton seem like just this most, people go to Edmonton, they're like, oh, it's really hard. And I'm like, oh, compared to Adelaide, where I'm literally giving away tickets for free because Tom Green is playing next to me and and would you rather see my feminist solo show or would you rather see Tom Green? It's a different kind of vibe. And they're huge. They're just huge festivals. But they're so much fun. They're crazy. You really got to love your craft to flyer in Adelaide with the people.
I mean, I've heard a lot of people talk about, the Edinburgh thing and how hard that is with 3,000 shows and everybody scrambling to get eyes on their show.
They had 4,000 last year.
4,000 last year. Fucking
goddamn. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, it's just crazy.
I have people who know Fringe. They're like, so I know you did a couple of Fringes this year. Are you ready for Edinburgh? I'm like, fuck no.
Yeah, I know. Every year I'm like, maybe this is the year I'll do Edinburgh. And then I'm like, no. It's like, what? I can make money in Edmonton or I could lose just so much money in Edinburgh. So
Having done both of those, do you prefer the Canadian model, or do you find that the outside of Canada model, where you have to hustle so much and you've got so much money on the line, pushes you further?
I feel like I really you cannot do a show you hate in those fringes, because you will hate everyone in your life. Everything about that model is very challenging, and because of those challenges, you gotta love what you do. So it is this kind of wonderful thing where, if you've just convinced strangers, after arguing with them, to come see your show, and they see your show and you're doing your show and you're like, oh, my show isn't good. That is a reality check. So it really makes you be on your game as an artist, and it makes you really believe in what you're selling. And I've had that. I have seen a lot of shows in Edmonton even, or in Toronto, where people are selling them super hard, and I'm like, this isn't a good show. You would you really have to believe what you're doing. And that for me was what the international fringes did for me, was really made me really sure about the work I'm doing, and really sure about the product I was selling, and really kind of savvy about the fact that I am selling a product. And it makes all the other fringes feel really fun and easy. It makes Canada feel safe and warm comparatively. Yeah.
Well, it is. That's good.
It's an incredible. Canada. The reason people come internationally to do the Canadian fringes is because they're awesome fringes. Audiences come out. It's not oversaturated. There are only 150 shows, which sounds ridiculous to say, but you can see almost in Ottawa. You can see them all. There's only 50 shows in Ottawa. That's amazing. That's just a really cool opportunity that you don't get outside of Canada.
No, that's true. That's true. You certainly don't have as much on the line. If you're coming from away.
Yeah.
So back to Dark Day Monday. What's your theme coming up for this? You're in a new venue. Do you guys set a theme every
month has a theme?
Okay. And do you guys decide on this theme and put it out to people and they pitch it, or do you decide on the theme from what you've chosen?
We decide on the themes ahead of time and suggest them to people to apply based on. So the theme for October is Nevertheless, She Persisted.
Okay.
Which is an Elizabeth Warren line earlier this year. She said it, or it was said about her when she was participating in a filibuster. So a sort of invitation for feminist works, for political works, for theater for social change.
For works about women overcoming things.
Nice. For persistence. Nice. And I think we offer our themes as suggestions, as sort of writing prompts. If we get an incredible thing that doesn't fit our theme, we'll still program it.
Sure.
But
or if we get an incredible thing and we're like, hey, this actually fits the theme we're doing in 2 months. Would you mind waiting till then?
Yeah.
And if they're like, no, I'm really only available this time, we'll probably be like, okay, cool. Let's do it now then.
Yeah. Awesome. Is there... Sorry, I lost my train of thought because I got caught up in that. I should really edit my silences out, but I don't. I like when people see that I'm stupid. What are we've talked about what you guys the possibility down the road of doing this weekly, which you would have to be sure that the audience is not saturated for this kind of thing. But what's your have you seen a consistent audience coming out for this? Have you seen the same people coming out?
We have a few regulars, but there's actually quite a lot of new faces every time. I think it has to do with the artists that we're picking. So the artists often bring a large, or a certain percentage of the audience to see each artist. It would be really, some audience members have come quite regularly. My parents have been to 4 of them. So,
and also I think a lot of artists who have done it in the past come to see the next one, or as audience members, which is the kind of vibe we're trying to.
I was actually curious about that. If a lot of the artists are coming back repeatedly.
I've seen quite a few. I'd say the majority are if they don't have something to do that month, or if they don't want to pitch it, they'll just come and watch.
Nice.
And we definitely are hoping that happens. We're hoping that crossover happens. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of that sort of builds that community sort of thing, right?
Exactly.
And we're definitely open to reprogramming an artist a few months later after they've already done something for us to do something else.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily just for new works. It's for work that maybe doesn't have a a particular venue right now or a particular audience. It's challenging work. It's
Yeah, I think like for instance, like we've had a comedy. We had a show about motherhood. That was the theme for Mother's Day. We had a motherhood show, and someone did comedy on getting an abortion. And so like it was a straight up comedy set. It was straight stand up. And yet, would it always find a home, at Comedy Bar? Maybe not, like because of the tone and because of the energy. And it was a hilarious bit. But we are more interested in programming that kind of stuff. Or like, we had one artist who was like, is it too much if I like throw a lemon into the audience? And I'm like, throw that lemon, do it. He's like, can I make a mess? I'm like, make a mess. I think we want to encourage people who are like, ooh, I'm not normally allowed to do this in plays. Can I do this? And we want to say, yes, you can. Yeah.
Well, I think we are often at like thinking about, do we have permission to do a particular thing? And like, can I break this fourth wall? Can I go out here? Can I throw a lemon in the audience?
Well, like as artists, wondering like, do I have permission is like sort of stunting to the creativity of the thing, to the art. Like we want to give people permission to do the thing that they want to do. Like, sure, check in with us if you like want to know, do I have permission? But like I want to encourage people to be like, I think artistically my piece needs me to do this thing that I've never done before and never seen happen on a stage. Yeah. I want to be like cool.
Yeah. Well, we do in the theater world, we are given permission so often that it's sometimes hard to think that we don't need it.
That's interesting.
There's somebody, even if it's like the Fringe Lottery, we are waiting for something to be our gatekeeper to put us on the stage or to give us a space to perform. So it's good to have a spot where you can say, yes, I will do this. I will throw this lemon. I will whatever it is you're going to do.
Well, and also that's interesting because there's this idea that the Toronto Fringe is the strictest, most rule-based fringe in all of the Canadian fringes.
Which I've heard many times.
Yes, I've heard and experienced. And I think there is, and that rings true in Toronto as well. I think that comes from the Toronto theater community, which has a lot of union rules, has a lot of only certain people up on certain ladders, which are all good rules. And I think we are sort of trying to, within that culture of rules, trying to break some rules. Only the good ones or only the bad ones? I don't know. Only the ones that hold us back. Honestly, not the ones that keep us safe and keep us honest. But yeah.
And the date of the next Dark Day Monday is the 8th of October?
October 8th. That is Thanksgiving Monday.
Yeah.
So once you get back, once you get back from the whatever-ableness of having dinner with your family, adopted or biological, come to Dark Day Monday.
Yeah.
Shake off that turkey coma and
drink some free beer.
Drink free beer, exactly. Guys, thank you so much for coming on. I really like this.
Thanks so much for having us. Yeah.
We had a great time.
This has been a Homebody Productions production.